A telephone channel requires a bandwidth of about A 1 kHz, B 3 kHz, C 10 kHz, D 50 kHz. The correct answer is 3 kHz. For a given carrier wave, maximum undistorted power is transmitted when value of modulation is A 1, B 0.8, C 0.5, D 0. The correct answer is 1. As per Shannon-Hartley theorem, a noiseless Gaussian channel has A 0 capacity, B infinite capacity, C small capacity, D none of the above. The correct answer is infinite capacity. DVD uses A laser beam for both recording and playback, B laser beam for recording and video head for playback, C video head for recording and laser beam for playback, D none of the above. The correct answer is laser beam for both recording and playback. Fourier analysis indicate that a square wave can be represented as A fundamental sine wave and odd harmonics, B a fundamental sine wave and even harmonics, C a fundamental sine wave and harmonics, D fundamental and subharmonic sine waves. The correct answer is a fundamental sine wave and odd harmonics. FM transmitting and receiving equipment as compared to AM equipment is A costly, B cheaper, C almost equally costly, D none of the above. The correct answer is costly. An audio signal, say from 50 Hz to 10,000 Hz, is frequency translated by a carrier having a frequency of 10.6 Hz. The values of initial without frequency translation and final after frequency translation fractional change in frequency from one band edge to the other are A 201.01, B 210.01, C 200 and 100.1, D 200 and 200. The correct answer is 201.01. If in a broadcasting studio a 1000 kHz carrier is modulated by an audio signal of frequency range 100-5000 kHz, the width of channel is kHz. A 5, B 4.9, C 995, D 10. The correct answer is 10. Which one of the following is analog? A PCM, B PWM, C delta modulation, D differential PCM. The correct answer is PWM. The disadvantage of FM over AM is that A high output power is needed, B high modulating power is needed, C noise is very high for high frequency, D large bandwidth is required. The correct answer is large bandwidth is required. Which of the following is a digital modulation technique? A PCM, B PSK, C DM, D all. The correct answer is all. Which of the following is used to generate PDM? A free-running multi-vibrator, B monostable multi-vibrator, C JK flip-flop, D Schmidt trigger. The correct answer is monostable multi-vibrator. SSB can be generated by A filter method, B phase cancellation method, C good attenuation characteristics, D all of the above. The correct answer is all of the above. A zero mean white Gaussian noise is passed through an ideal low-pass filter of bandwidth 10 kHz. The output of the samples so obtained would be A correlated, B statistically independent, C uncorrelated, D orthogonal. The correct answer is statistically independent. What is the purpose of peak clipper circuits in radio transmitters? A to prevent overmodulation, B to reduce bandwidth, C to increase bandwidth, D. To regulate oscillator IP voltage. The correct answer is to prevent overmodulation. In case of low-level amplitude modulation system, the amplifiers following the modulated stage must be A. Class C amplifiers, B. Linear devices, C. Non-linear devices, D. Harmonic devices. The correct answer is linear devices. Under ordinary circumstances, impulse noise can be reduced in A. FM only, B. AM only, C. Both AM and FM, D. None of the above. The correct answer is FM only. In case of frequency modulation, modulating voltage remains constant if the modulating frequency is lowered, then A. Amplitude of distant sidebands decreases, B. Amplitude of distant sidebands increases, C. Amplitude of distant sidebands remains constant, D. Amplitude of distant sidebands first increases then decreases. The correct answer is amplitude of distant sidebands increases. If sampling is done at the rate of 10 kHz, the bandwidth required is A. 35 kHz, B. 70 kHz, C. 10 kHz, D. 1280 kHz. The correct answer is 35 kHz. It is found that a ship-to-ship communication suffers from fading. This can be avoided by using A. Space diversity, B. Frequency diversity, C. Broadband antenna, D. Directional antenna. The correct answer is frequency diversity. Skip distance depends on time of day and angle of incidence. A. True, B. False, C. D. The correct answer is true. In practical commercial FM system, channel bandwidth is A. 150 kHz, B. 100 kHz, C. 88 MHz, D. 108 MHz. The correct answer is 150 kHz. In EM waves polarization, A is always vertical in an isotropic medium, B is caused by reflection, C is due to transverse nature of waves, D results from longitudinal nature of waves. The correct answer is due to transverse nature of waves. The maximum power output of a standard A Earth station over the total band allocated to satellite communication is about A. 0.5 kilowatts, B. 8 kilowatts, C. 20 kilowatts, D. 50 kilowatts. The correct answer is 0.5 kilowatts. PAM stands for A. Pulse analog modulation, B. Phase analog modulation, C. Pulse amplitude modulation, D. Phase amplitude modulation. The correct answer is pulse amplitude modulation. The characteristic impedance of a twin-wire feeder used for TV signals is about A. 1000 ohm, B. 500 ohm, C. 300 ohm, D. 100 ohm. The correct answer is 300 ohm. In a FM receiver amplitude limiter, A. amplifies low-frequency signals, B. reduces the amplitude of signals, C. eliminates any change in amplitude of received FM signals, D. none of the above. The correct answer is eliminates any change in amplitude of received FM signals. A buffer amplifier is A. double-tuned amplifier, B. a high-gain DC amplifier, C. a cathode follower stage, D. none of the above. The correct answer is a high-gain DC amplifier. Leak-type bias is used in plate-modulated Class C amplifier to A. increase the bandwidth, B. prevent overmodulation, C. prevent excessive grid current, D. prevent tuned circuit damping. The correct answer is prevent excessive grid current. The direction of rotation of a CD is A. Clockwise, B. Anticlockwise, C. Clockwise or anticlockwise depending on frequency of data stored, D. Mostly anticlockwise but sometimes clockwise. The correct answer is anticlockwise. One of the advantages of base modulation over collector modulation of a transistor class C amplifier is A. Improved efficiency, B. Better linearity, C. High power output per transistor, D. The lower modulating power requirement. The correct answer is the lower modulating power requirement. Full duplex operation permits transmission in both directions at the same time. A. True, B. False, C. D. The correct answer is true. In a TV receiver antenna, the length of reflector rod A is the same as that of dipole, B is less than that of dipole, C is more than that of dipole, D may be equal more or less than that of dipole. The correct answer is more than that of dipole. The modulation index of an FM is changed from 0 to 1. How does the transmitted power change? A gets halved, B gets doubled, C gets increased by 50%, D remains unchanged. The correct answer is gets increased by 50%. For AM receivers, the standard if frequency is A 106 kHz, B 455 kHz, C 1.07 MHz, D 10.7 MHz. The correct answer is 455 kHz. For a plate-modulated class C amplifier, the plate supply voltage is E. The maximum plate cathode voltage could be almost high as A 2E, B 3E, C 4E, D 6E. The correct answer is 4E. In TV systems, equalising pulses are sent during A. Horizontal blanking, B. Vertical blanking, C. Serrations, D. Horizontal retrace. The correct answer is horizontal blanking. A 3-stage telephone switching structure is to have 128 input and 128 output terminals. There are 16 first-stage and 16 third-stage matrices. To avoid blocking, the number of intermediate paths required is A 16, B 15, C 8, D 1. The correct answer is 15. The main function of a balanced modulator is to A. Produce balanced modulation of a carrier wave, B. Produce 100 modulation, C. Suppress carrier signal in order to create a single sideband or double sideband, D. Limit noise picked by a receiver. The correct answer is produce 100 modulation. Which of the following is not considered as a useful quantity in comparing noise performance of receivers? A. Noise temperature, B. Noise figure, C. Noise resistance, D. Input noise voltage. The correct answer is input noise voltage. Oscillator crystal is made of A. Silicon, B. Germanium, C. Diamond, D. Quartz. The correct answer is quartz. An FM signal has modulating frequency FM and maximum frequency deviation of. The bandwidth will be nearly equal to A. B2, C2 FM, D FM. The correct answer is 2. In a cellular communication system, path loss between transmitter and receiver is due to A. Scattering from building trees, vehicles and other structure, B. Reason at A above and due to reflections from ground only, C. Reason at A and B above along with reflections from ionosphere only, D. Reasons at A, B and C above along with loss due to surface wave phenomenon. The correct answer is Reason at A above and due to reflections from ground only. Transistor T1 operates at 30 kHz and T2 operates at 300 Hz. The flicker noise is A. Not depend on frequency. B. T1 T2. C. T1 T2. D. T1 T2. The correct answer is T1 T2. A pre-emphasis circuit provides extra noise immunity by A. Converting the phase modulation to frequency modulation. B. Pre-amplifying the whole audio band. C. Boosting the bass frequencies. D. Amplifying the higher audio frequencies. The correct answer is amplifying the higher audio frequencies. A tape recorder and deck are entirely similar. A. True. B. False. C. D. The correct answer is true. The antenna current of an AM transmitter is 8A. When only the carrier is sent but it increases to 8.93A. When the carrier is sinusoidally modulated, the percentage modulation is nearly A. 90. B. 80. C. 75. D. 70. The correct answer is 70.